Hi guys, how's everybody today? This is Liz Choate, registered dietitian and director of clinical nutrition here at Jackson Purchase Medical Center, and we're here again today doing another Learning with Liz for you. And it's another one of the topics that somebody sent in to us to maybe educate you a little bit on a diet for if somebody has a disease process called congestive heart failure. Congestive heart failure is when a person may retain a lot of fluid, and especially around the heart, and then the heart has to beat harder to try to get rid of that fluid, and it's just not a very good thing for our body for that to happen. So there is a specific diet that a person needs to follow when they have congestive heart failure. They need to watch our salt intake. So the thing that a lot of people like is they like that salt. But salt actually is just a little picture that we need to watch. Its sodium is the big picture. There's many other little foods that are products that have sodium containing in them. Because what the salt or the sodium does is it makes our body hold on to water. And then when our body holds too much of that water and can't get rid of it, then a person can't breathe very well. So watching their diet with the sodium intake is so very, very important for them to do that. Also, some of those people who might have congestive heart failure actually have to watch how much fluid that they take in a day. So their doctor will tell them if they have to do that. So let's talk about how much is too much when we're talking about sodium. We need to have around 2,000 milligrams in a day is the recommendation when somebody has congestive heart failure. That is a salt or a sodium restriction. If you read a food label, it's actually based on 2,400 milligrams of sodium in a day is what the recommendation is for a person to take in. So you can use those food labels to help us out too, to see if the food has very much of salt or a sodium compound in it. And we're going to look at a label here in just a few minutes. So how much should we take in? Like I said, it's around 2,000 milligrams in a day. You want to remember that there's 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. So 2,000 milligrams is 2 grams. Sometimes that can get a little confusing for us all, but just a little helpful hint is try to select foods that have around 140 milligrams or less per serving. It's very important that a person looks at what the serving size is, because if they eat twice the amount of what the serving size is, then you're going to get twice the amount. If they eat half of it, you're only going to get half of it. So it's very important looking at those food labels. Foods that have around 300 milligrams of sodium in a serving might not fit into that reduced sodium type of meal plan. And so like I said, it's very, very important to check that serving size. So just a few helpful tips for you is try to, avoid the processed foods as much as you can, because a lot of them have salt added with them. Try to eat more fresh frozen fruits, fresh or frozen vegetables. Try to avoid the gravies that might be added to certain foods. Your fresh meats, like your beef and your pork and your chicken and your turkey and your fish are fine, but things like bacon or sausage are going to be a lot higher in with that sodium, and we do need to watch how much we have of those. And again, just looking at those food labels is what's going to help us with that. Try not to add salt when you're cooking. What do we all want to do? We all want to pick up that salt shaker and pour. It's try not to do that. Try to use other kind of seasonings to help out. Pepper's great to do. Onion powder is super to do instead of onion salt, or a salt-free seasoning. This one happens to be by Lowry's. Mrs. Dash is a great product to use. They have many different types of flavorings to add to foods. Lemon pepper, you've got to be careful with, because a lot of lemon peppers, the first ingredient listed is salt. So if you're wanting to watch your salt or sodium intake, you need to get a lemon pepper that doesn't have that salt in it. You can be a smart shopper. Hunting on labels, you may see something that might say it's salt-free or sodium-free. That means it has less than 5 milligrams of sodium per serving. Very low sodium products, it's going to say it's got 35 milligrams or less per serving. Low sodium means it has less than 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. And unsalted or a no added salt is usually 25% or less of the original food. So you got to look at those food labels. Like I was talking about when you're cooking, not adding salt to your foods, because 1 teaspoon of salt contains 2,300 milligrams of sodium. And that's how much we need in one day if somebody's needing to watch their diet for congestive heart failure. And like I said, adding different flavors to help flavor those foods, because if it doesn't taste good, you're not going to eat it. So we got to make it taste good, so adding different flavors. Besides like the bacon and the sausage, there's other types of foods that may be higher in sodium, like canned soups. But you can buy low sodium canned soups. Cheese, unfortunately, a lot of us love cheese, but cheese has a lot of sodium in that, and there are some low sodium cheeses out there you can get. Also, ham can have some sodium in it, especially if it's a cured ham, because that's what they cure it with, is a sodium compound. Canned vegetables, for instance, they contain sodium in it, but you know what you can do with that is you can pour the juice off of them, rinse a little bit, add a little tap water back to them, and cook it like that. Or you can do fresh, or you can do frozen. They do have the unsalted canned vegetables that you can buy, but you also can do that other process with them, and that kind of helps you out. Canned tuna, canned salmon. Again, rinse it, and you take a lot of that salt and sodium out of that if it's been added to that. Your fresh fruits, they're not going to have very much sodium in them. It's going to be what comes naturally in it. So fruits are fantastic. Most vegetables are fine. Now, celery, though, is one of the things that we like to add as a flavoring because it is a little bit higher containing sodium vegetable. We don't say to stay away from it, but you can use that in food products like a homemade soup or something like that, that's going to add some flavor to that. So just be careful with that salt shaker. I know a lot of people want to go, I call it the white snow-peaked mountains. Try not to do that. You can use also a salt substitute, but do check with your doctor first if you can do that, because most salt substitutes contain potassium in it. So, and if a person needs to watch their potassium, then they need to avoid those things. So it's very important to be careful with those. But there's new salt, there's no salt, there's many other different products out there that are salt substitutes that a person can use as long as it's okay by the doc. But I always warn people, don't use it like you use regular salt, because it has potassium, and potassium can get bitter tasting if you try to take in too much of that. So that food label that we want to try to look at, we want to look for the sodium, the amount of sodium that's contained in that food product. So with this food label, it kind of points out that it has, like I look at it here, it has 150 milligrams of sodium containing in it. Then it gives us a percentage over on the side. So a food label is based on 2,400 milligrams of sodium in one day is what they recommend for us to take in. Well, with whatever this food product is, that in that 150 milligrams is 7% of what we need in one day. That's pretty small. But I might have something that says it's 330 milligrams in a day, and that may be like around 25% of what we need in one day. If it's a whole meal, that's fine, but if it's 1 cup of something, then that's way too much. So you want to read those food labels. So thanks today for looking in at us and learning a little bit about watching with our salt and sodium, especially for congestive heart failure. This is a topic that one of our viewers sent in to us, so thanks a lot for doing that. Please go ahead and if you think of something that you want us to talk about, please send that in to us and we'll try. We hope everybody has a great day. Thanks.